Thanks so much. It's a treat to be here with my friends at Google and all of you. And I just came from Jerusalem, so I am much more in the mind of AQ, covering AQ, which is Al Qaeda, not AI. But I made the shift on the plane ride up. So to understand both the potential of AI driving more scientific breakthroughs and more scientific breakthroughs driving more I think you have to appreciate the unique moment where humanity finds itself right now on the eve of this discovery. We've hit three scaling laws, it seems to me, at the same time. A scaling law in silicon and software, a scaling law in carbon, and a scaling law in disorder. Let's briefly look at all three and how they're related. At some point between 2017, when Google released its transformer algorithm, and the early 2020s, when microchips became that much more powerful and specifically tailored to AI parallel processing, artificial intelligence of a wholly different scope and scale just emerged. I mean, the machine just started speaking German, and they didn't teach it German. So obviously there was a scaling law playing out. The power of large language modules that rapidly are becoming large reasoning models now emerged and became available, we all know, to the public virtually for free. For the first time, polymathic artificial intelligence seemed within sight. And we quickly saw, with amazing breakthroughs like AlphaFold, how scientific challenges that took decades could be compressed in a few years. AI-driven science went, in like 3 years, from science fiction to nonfiction to available for everyone virtually for free. At roughly the same time, though, we hit a scaling law in carbon. By that I mean CO2 and methane greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere caused primarily by humans burning fossil fuels and cows belching, we learned this morning, that trap more heat near the Earth's surface, were causing destructive climate change. Each of the last 3 decades have been hotter than the previous one, and the 7 warmest years on record actually occurred between 2015 and 2021. The outcome is both a hotter planet and a cascade of feedback loops impacting our oceans, atmosphere, soil, rocks, trees, and every living thing on the planet. The net effect is what my friend Hunter Lovins has called global weirding. The hots get hotter, the wets get wetter, the droughts get drier and longer, and destructive forest fires and storms become more frequent and more destructive. We see once in a 100-year weather events becoming once every few years. I would argue that at roughly the same time we hit these scaling points in silicon and carbon, we hit a third scaling point, or tipping point, and it was in the challenges in both developed and developing world of creating stable and decent government. We're hitting a scaling point in disorder. The central crisis for the industrial democracies is that they have promised their people health benefits, retirement benefits, and infrastructure that they simply cannot deliver, while they're also having to fight more wars against non-democracies. But today they can neither raise taxes enough, cut benefits enough, or go into debt further without risking political instability or runaway inflation. And all of this is happening as populations in these countries age. In 2010, for instance, 1 in 10 Singaporeans were age 65 and above. By 2030, it will be 1 in 4. Also, educational attainment is stagnating despite higher education spending. We've also seen a broad-based slowdown in global labor productivity growth over the last decade. In the US, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are now half the federal budget. Compounding all of this are bigger national security challenges as the 4 decades of globalization and the relative absence of great power conflict, known as the post-Cold War, fades away. Meanwhile, in the developing world, precisely because of climate change and deforestation and accelerations in technological change, and a lot less foreign aid from the developed countries, too many nations are finding it hard to deliver even the basics of education, electric power, transportation, and healthcare. This is leading to more internal migration and then external migration and more failing states and conflict. According to the Global Peace Index, there are currently 56 conflicts going on in the world today, the most since World War II, and there are more migrants moving from one country to another than any time since World War II. For all of these reasons, ladies and gentlemen, we need a game changer. What I've just described are high-dimensional problems that blend both scale and complexity. Only the kind of high-dimensional thinking that AI AI-fueled scientific discovery can address only the kind of high-dimensional thinking that AI-fueled scientific discovery can address is going to mitigate these problems. Specifically, we need more powerful AI driving more scientific breakthroughs for less money with greater ease, we can deliver better healthcare, more decent government to more people with cleaner energy than we have ever done before as a species. The future stability of this planet for our children depends on that. To put it another way, we need the scaling that hits silicon and software to produce artificial intelligence to mitigate the scaling of carbon into destructive climate change, while also propagating the scale solutions we need to scale decent governments to prevent scaling disorder. Can polymathic artificial intelligence give us the poly solutions for the poly crisis? That's why I call this era the Polycene. I know it's a mouthful. Here's the short version. Politics has never needed science more. It has never needed science to be an amplifier for the economy by reducing costs in research and in areas like medicine and sustainability, as well as increasing productivity and workforce participation. Politics has never needed science more to enable leapfrogs in education and job growth for the developing world. And politics has never needed science more to provide the buffers against disruptive climate change. I'm an optimist, both by nature and from my own reporting. I just give one example. I wrote a book in 2011 with my friend Michael Mandelbaum called That Used to Be Us. It was actually about America, how America lost its way in a world it invented. And my favorite chapter in that book was called Average is Over. And the theme of the chapter was basically, with the acceleration and the pace of change in technology, if you just had average skills, it wouldn't produce an average income, so you could buy an average house and have 2.0 average kids with an average yard, average number of trips to Disney World, an average retirement, and a perfectly average funeral. Average was over. So everybody had to find their extra. Well, I've been thinking about that chapter lately because recently on a trip to India, I discovered a really rudimentary AI system that was being provided to Indian farmers, where an illiterate Indian farmer could access on his cell phone this software, his or her cell phone, this software, and get the absolutely world-class best advice on what seeds to plant, when to plant them, where to plant them, which fertilizer, how much water, which season, based on everyone in the world who was planting those seeds at the same time. For the first time in the world, people who had never had access to average are going to have access to world class in a whole range of opportunities and outcomes, not just agriculture. Average is over for them in a really cool way, thanks to AI. So that's why I'm an optimist, with one minor caveat. While politics has never needed science more, science has never needed politics and ethics more. It's never needed them to come up with the controls, the regulations that will ensure that we are able to get the best out of AI without becoming its pet. The alignment problem is very real and will become more real every year we get closer to true artificial general intelligence. Have no illusions with our invention of artificial intelligence. We as a species have become more godlike than ever before. We humans invented a bigger brain than we evolved with, or for the believers in the room, than God endowed us with. We humans now have the godlike power to part the Red Sea. But unless we can scale to each other and our AI machines, the 10 commandments to go with it, we will have a real problem on the other side. Thank you very much.